This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. Welcome to a fresh week. The Yankees are back from the All-Star break. Everything that happened over the weekend was weird. Every single thing. Spencer Jones, also the hottest player on the planet at any level of the sport. Will he be a Yankee after the trade deadline? Will he be dealt? Is there anything worth dealing him for? How is Brian Cashman going to go crazy, by the way? Well, some Diamondbacks rumors are calcifying. We'll talk about those a little bit. They did not decide to spend $6 million for David Robertson. He goes to the Phillies instead, but plenty of Yankees stepped up anyway over the weekend, and now they look for a more immediate bullpen help. We will obviously talk about the reasons why they did not go for Robertson that go beyond the salary. Ugliest loss of the year Friday, comeback of the year Saturday, and then just a clean win on Sunday, the likes of which we didn't think the Yankees were capable of, especially without Luke Weaver in an undermanned bullpen. We'll talk about it all, plus give Anthony Volpe a day off. Help the man. Help the child. Help him get well again. It always seems to work when you do it. Thomas Carinati, thank you for joining me. Again, going into Atlanta, sweep last time we played there, got swept, not the Yankees. Sweep
yeah, got swept.
Got rocked in 2023, and that was kind of like that was not a playoff team, especially not without Aaron Judge. And that was kind of the moment when it was like, oh, we're just like not going to win any of these games. Like we're just DOA. And they were getting run over by the Braves pitching staff, run over by the Braves offensively. It was very boring. And game one of this series, you were like, oh, more of this. So I guess we found another house of horrors. Like Braves fans have complained all year about the offense lacking and Ozzie Albies disappearing and Michael Harris disappearing. And then those two guys were incredible to start the series, and Albies homered twice in the first two games, and it looked like the Yankees were going to counter with an Ian Hamilton-led bullpen game, and everybody was mad about, wow, this is going to kill the bullpen ahead of the Will Warren and Stroman starts. It didn't kill the bullpen because they only used garbage.
Yeah.
Rico Garcia and JT Brubaker and just kicked the game in the Johnson within minutes of it starting. So a lifeless loss and more fundamental mistakes in the first half of game two that led to even Eric Boland of Newsday tweeting about how all the Yankees do is give lip service to their fundamental problem this generation. And people are at their lowest low. And then lo and behold, Anthony Volpe homers not once, but twice. Cody Bellinger homers. The Yankees try to fake comeback in the opener, made a real comeback in game two. Trent Grisham caps it off with a grand slam. Luke Weaver, great escape in the inning and 2/3 of shutout ball, really earned the W and earned some plaudits. And then Marcus Stroman and his 6.66 ERA, misleading because of his early season flops. He's now been back for 4 starts. After his first one resulted in a win against the A's, I was like, well, that's enough. I mean, if we don't get a single other viable start for Marcus Stroman for the rest of the year, it'll be more than I expected. And then he was fine at Citi Field in a game the Yankees should have won. He was fine against the Mariners in a game the Yankees came back and won. And he was excellent yesterday. So if one win was enough, 3 wins in 4 tries with 4 acceptable starts for the most part, that'll work for me. I'm not coming out of this series waving pom-poms, but to think about the depths of where I was on Friday night, just like, I don't want to join the people. My favorite people are the people who are like, I am done with this team until the trade deadline. Oh, so you're done for 10 days and then you're going to bandwagon them when the roster gets better? You don't have to declare you're done. But I thought on Friday it was fair to sort of like divest emotionally, just to say, obviously I'm going to watch. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I'm not going to pay attention. But as long as they can tread water and just, even be in a playoff spot, you would find that acceptable, knowing that there were hopefully reinforcements coming. And then if reinforcements didn't come, you could really throw in the towel. And then Saturday, a really memorable game that, if who knows what it means, but you can frame that. And Sunday, just a nice, easy win with some personnel I didn't expect to factor in.
The frustrating part of all of this is just the highs and lows of Yankees fandom when it just shouldn't be this hard. I know that sounds like a high-class complaint, if you will, but shouldn't be coming out of the break using an opener and not revealing something's wrong with Cam Schlittler until the very end of that pitching plan coming to fruition. Ian Hamilton starting a game should be unacceptable on just about every level possible.
Well, and it worked. He looked incredible. He looked ready for the challenge. So
the exact result from that everybody expected happened. He gave up 3 runs in the first inning. The Yankees were dead to rights after that. And then they just used bullpen slop for the rest of it, for the rest of the game, and where they lost 7-3. And you're just like, what is the point of an All-Star break? The point of the All-Star break is to recharge and come out with a semblance of life. And you do the opposite of that. And I understand that there were some injuries, or there was an injury, but you can't tell me there wasn't a more effective way to come out of the All-Star break. Again, this is a bad opponent. The Braves, sorry, Braves fans, you're bad. Watched you all weekend. You're not good. They have a lot of injuries. Their rotation's completely down. They have guys in and out of the lineup. They can't seem to find that rhythm. But somehow, the Yankees helped them find a rhythm. Ozzie Albies had the second longest homer drought of his entire career. Homers twice in this series. Michael Harris hadn't walked in over 2 months. They walked him in this series. Also has 7 homers on the year. Hit a homer in this series. So the Yankees did their best to revive a team that is not good and is going to have a lot of questions to answer in the offseason because whatever they've been doing over the last couple of years hasn't been working. So am I sitting here saying, I'm more so saying, thank God we won this series, as opposed to, oh, really good grit and way to battle, Yankees, like that. I'm not in that camp. Like Saturday's game, cool, but more agonizing than anything. Like they were staring down the barrel of a series loss to a team that they had no business losing to. And it took a miracle comeback for that to manifest itself. I will certainly give them credit for Sunday because Marcus Stroman, whether he's pitching against a team like the Braves or a team like, I don't know, who's a couple steps above the Blue Jays, like Braves have talent in this roster. I'm not on this roster, so I'm not saying like it's something we need to overlook. He did the job. That was his first 6-inning start of allowing 1 or fewer runs since last, I think, May, or something like that. So, I mean, we said in the beginning of the year, everybody wanted Marcus Stroman gone, and it was like, this guy can win you games. Is he the greatest? No. Should he be better? Yes. Is he the worst? No, he's not. Like, he's somewhere in between, and somewhere in between, unfortunately, costs you anywhere between $15 and $20 million a year. So that's just the reality. Would I have liked the Yankees to have made a better move with that money last offseason? Sure, but like we got Marcus Stroman, got to work with Marcus Stroman. He's an established veteran with an ability to do what he just did yesterday. So let's stick with it and see where it gets us. But for the most part, like, I'm not buying Anthony Volpe stock because he had a big Saturday. Like, that's not happening. I don't feel any differently about this team than I did before we went into the All-Star break. I am not optimistic about what they can do with the trade deadline because I don't know if you can change energy and fundamentals and basic baseball knowledge with acquisitions in 10 days, but I'm here and I'm watching. So I guess that's good, right?
If they don't make the substantial changes that they're advertising at the trade deadline, I still don't think they're a playoff team. And that sounds wild to say. And it also, like, what is a playoff team? I guess, like, if
they're as good as the Red Sox right now. Do you think the Red Sox are a playoff team, folks? Like, that's really what it comes down to.
If we zoom into the future and someone's like, good news, they won the second wild card, I would be, and how far did they go? Like, I wouldn't need that person to tell me. I would know. And I feel like, that, like, right now, without substantial change, their ceiling is like they've got a 4-game in the loss column advantage on the Rays right now. I think they're a better team than the Rays as currently constructed. I think the Rays hit their monster peak a month ago. We were talking about how the Rays were the Red Sox, and now the Red Sox are that team where they, people are being slightly skewed by a 10-game winning streak. Again, I think the Red Sox, I said this on the last show. This will be the last time I talk about the Red Sox. I think they're a good baseball team. We were waiting all first half for them to play more like we thought they would, and they got the years they were looking for out of Bregman when healthy, Crochet, and Aroldis Chapman beyond their wildest dreams. They're a good baseball team with young players that had a good offseason. They are not a win 10 straight games against any opponent baseball team. 6 of those wins came against the lowest level of competition and rev them up for the final series before the break. And then Lo and behold, they go to Chicago this week, and 1 run in the first game, no runs against Shota Imanaga in the second, had to miraculously pile on against the Cubs bullpen to win the finale. And they faced Cade Horton, a below average level rookie starting pitcher in that game who almost lost to Garrett Crochet. So like, what happened to the Red Sox over the last couple of days? They faced high level competition on the road. Yeah. They're a good baseball team getting their bearings. They are no longer facing the Washington Nationals. Now they face the Phillies, and they face the struggling, which is crazy to say, Dodgers. 2 more reality checks. And how do I think they're going to do? They're going to play okay. They're going to win some of those games. They're going to lose some of those games. Bold prediction. The Yankees are now 4 games up in the loss column on the Rays. And without substantial change, yeah, I think they will finish the year ahead of Tampa. I think they will finish the year ahead of the Texas Rangers and the Guardians. And those are the teams that are standing between them and falling out of the playoff bracket. So I guess I do think they're a playoff team as currently constructed, but if they want a real ceiling, they're going to need to go out and do damage at the trade deadline. And we've spoken on numerous shows about what is damage even available. We'll get into that in just a second. I do want to give credit. I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm buying in on Volpe. I'm buying in on we've unlocked for the millionth time the best way to handle Anthony Volpe. And Jack Fungo, which there's no way that's a real guy's name, but I'll pretend it is for this purpose. He's at Fungo Media on Twitter.
Fungo Bats.
The inventor of Fungo Bats, ladies and gentlemen. We know that Anthony Volpe does better when he gets a breather, and that was clear heading into, he starts every season hotter than he finishes every season. Duh. Yeah. Again, breaking news. But heading into the postseason last year, he managed to pull it together and had a great DS and great CS and fine World Series at that big Grand Slam. But before that, had sort of tapered off a little bit. Every time he gets a significant amount of time off, like an all-star break or an off season of training, he just looks so much better. First 2 weeks of last year, 184 WRC plus. Then before the break, 80 WRC plus. First 2 weeks after the break last year, 192. Then from that point to the playoffs, 48. He was mired in the biggest slump we've seen from him in a long time over the month and a half, 2 months prior to the break this time. And he comes out of the break with 2 bombs on Saturday. So you're not obviously able to give him a week off ever. That's not how the baseball season works. You can't just put him on the shelf. I wouldn't fake IL him, but you need to find a way to bake in those rest days. He just continues to make it clearer and clearer. I don't think this is automatically going to make him the player we dreamed of rostering, but not doing it is bringing him further and further away from hitting that ceiling. I also do want to give credit where credit is due to Giancarlo Stanton, who is hitting the crap out of the baseball. Yeah. And it started pretty much right after I said, and again, with no hate in my heart, just saying this version of Stanton, I know it takes him a while to ramp up, but there was reason to believe that this time when he's trying to look for that rhythm, that it was not going to work out as swimmingly with the double elbow injuries as it did when he was healthy, or at least adjacent to being healthy. And then right after that, he hits that game-changing home run, pinch hit homer against the Mariners, which he never does. In the last 7 Yankee games, there have been 2 5-run comebacks, which just, they never do that. And they're doing that now. So reason to believe, like, it ticked up my percentage about 5 points probably in terms on the reason to believe scale. But Stanton with numbers we just don't see from him, and now a slightly growing sample size, 286 with an 863 OPS and scorchers all around the diamond yesterday. How long is his career going to be? How much longer will this last? Can we bottle this and preserve it till October? I don't know. But again, just like last year, there were moments when I was like, I don't know if we'll ever see the Stanton we dream of again. And then he showed up in October to an extent that won the Yankees a pennant that we had not seen in this era, a pennant we feared we may never see again. I thought this Stanton was gone again after learning how much the injuries beat him down last year and what he sacrificed to be that guy in the playoffs. And all of a sudden, he looks like playoff Stanton. And he's got 4 homers after being powerless for the first couple of weeks back. So credit to him. I don't know, again, maybe pause this, maybe cryogenically freeze this until October, but it's still there. It's still in him. The injuries did not end his effectiveness.
I felt that the ramp up was going to take longer than his usual. I know we discussed that. We discussed it every year. Every year that he goes down for 4 to 8 weeks, he comes back and you're like, all right, we have a 2 to 3 week Giancarlo Stanton grace period. He's in the lineup. He's maybe protecting other batters because pitchers will think twice about giving him something good over the plate. But for the most part, it's going to be a lot of swing and miss. It's going to be a lot of pop-ups is what it is. I think this time it took a little bit longer because of the nature of the injury. And again, this is one of the longest layoffs he's ever had with the Yankees. He hadn't played since October all the way through when did he come back? The end of June, the middle of June, something like that. So I wasn't holding my breath for him to start hitting, and I never thought that would be. I wasn't being like, oh, Giancarlo Stanton needs to be back and he needs to start hitting, or else this offense is in trouble. Like, remember, we talked about this offense has held its own for most of the year. Yes, we still have concerns about the boomer bust nature of it. We have concerns about the runners in scoring position. We have concerns about other hitters not stepping up when Aaron Judge goes dormant, which happened for a short stretch there, and they looked useless. So much like every other team, there are concerns. Being consistent on offense as a whole unit is incredibly hard to do. We hold the Yankees to a different standard because they have better than average talent from top to bottom on their roster than most teams. So you're saying, okay, like it's got to be better than this. I can't be looking at something as similar to what like the Guardians are doing. That's agonizing, and that's also not fair. But for Stanton, like he just needed, I think, a little bit more time to get back to where he needed to be. The double elbow injury is tough. I like the way he's swinging the bat right now. I like the fact that he's ripping singles. Like, that's cool. He's kind of getting clutch hits too. He's gotten two big pinch hits over the last couple of weeks, and he's historically bad in that role. And he stepped up in big moments since coming off the injured list. So I have no ill will or frustration with Giancarlo Stanton this year. It is what it is. This is what they have to deal with. He battled through whatever he battled through last year to get the Yankees to where they needed to be. And most of his teammates didn't step up alongside him. So he's not to fault. In terms of Anthony Volpe rest days, like, again, we unfortunately have to have too many podcast episodes focusing on Anthony Volpe.
Yeah, I don't want
and that's not fair to him, and it's not fair to just what the roster should be. Like, at this rate, as Joel Sherman said, Anthony Volpe might be best suited to be a number 9 hitter and someone who doesn't play every single day. The Yankees obviously don't see that. I'm not sure why. I don't know why they can't give him a day or two off at shortstop. I don't know why he can't incorporate some second base. I don't know why he can't just live at the bottom of the lineup. I know they're doing that more so now, but like the previous 2.5 years, they're throwing him in the leadoff spot, the cleanoff spot, the number 5 spot. And you're just like, why the fit here is so obvious that it's not going to work. Why do we keep trying this? And then the rest days are something that we've been talking about since his rookie season. Aaron Boone admitted after that year that Volpe was run down, which is why we saw the numbers crater in the second half, like far worse. Like the first half, yeah, up and down, but the second half was just down. And September got worse and worse and worse. So I don't know why the Yankees aren't learning from this evidence they have in front of them. They're stat driven. This seems to be right up their alley in terms of information gathering and making decisions based off of that information. But he's a growing, developing player, and the team is, we say it every week, they're not doing right by him, and it's not fair. And it's putting him in a really bad situation with the media. It's putting him in a really bad situation with the fans. And, you know, obviously it's clear that the Yankees mentality with him in terms of like, you can do no wrong and this, and this has bled into Anthony Volpe's philosophy. Like, we all know Anthony Volpe wants to be good and he wants to succeed and he wants to help the Yankees win. But like after that game in Toronto where he's like, yeah, no, I make both those throws, and everyone's like, what? That's aggressive to an recklessly aggressive defense. Like, did we get any clue there? Did you see who was running out of the batter's box? A really fast guy who will beat out a ground ball. Did you look down the third baseline when the runner from second was making a break for third and you completely, were late to the ball and late to picking it up and making the exchange? Why would you make that throw? And it's like, no, I make those throws. And it's just confusing as to how that's the case. And, he came out a week before the break and was like, yeah, it sounds crazy, but I'm actually feeling really great. And it's like, you can't be because this is the worst anybody's ever seen you. And again, this is year 3. So how good could you possibly be? It just the sentiment behind all of it makes zero sense with what everybody's actually seeing. So I don't know. I feel like the Yankees have the recipe in front of them to be 10, 12 games better than they are right now. And they're not leaning into that. They're trusting whatever their long-term view and process is that, again, hasn't really worked for the better part of a decade. We'll sit here and we'll keep talking about it. But I mean, at least we got a little burst of energy from Volpe this weekend in a game that mattered too, right? Like, you'd rather see 2 home runs that were consequential in turning around a really awesome victory rather than, oh yeah, Anthony Volpe homered in the 8th when the Yankees were down 7-1 and looks like his power might be back. It's like, no, he actually hit 2 clutch home runs and worked good counts and read the pitches correctly and looked kind of good. So I don't know if this is a sign of things to come. I don't think it is. But not going to complain with positive results that gave us a victory, right?
I can't believe the way that this played out. And I can't believe that we are still having conversations about a team that is sort of mired in the wild card race right now. Everything might be different if they win that first game in Toronto a couple weeks back when Volpe made those wonky throws and when everything melted down at the latter third of a baseball game that was clearly winnable. You know, Stanton rips an insurance run single and you're like, oh, I guess maybe this is going to go well. And then it goes poorly about as quickly as it possibly can. And Pythagorean record, still, there was a while where it corrected itself, where, you know, the Yankees late inning meltdowns had halted a little bit and they were winning some close games and reversing that luck. And they were for a long time like 5 games below their Pythagorean. I think they cut it to 2. Now they're back out to 5 games worse than they should be. 60-39 Pythagorean based on their run differential. They'd be right up there with the Tigers at 60 wins. Instead, they're at 55-44, and they are 3 games back of the division and needing a strong showing in Toronto this week in a world where, again, they're going back to Toronto for the second time in 3 weeks. Does that make any fucking sense to anybody? Not even a little bit, but that's what we got to talk about. We will preview that series briefly at the end of the show, but first I'd rather talk about the fun stuff because it's time for trade deadline. It's time for additions, and it's time to talk about the nitty-gritty of what the Yankees might be getting themselves into. First caveat, David Robertson will not be a Yankee. When we heard they were scouting him, it was like, oh, perfect fit. You know, that reunion is obvious. Got to get that done. They need 2-3 pieces of bullpen help, so why not get somebody you're familiar with? As the process unfolded and as he chose Philadelphia, it became clearer and clearer why the Yankees did not make this move. First of all, want to remind everybody that in 2018, when he left, for some reason, he led the charge to give half playoff shares to some Yankees clubhouse personnel who previously would have just earned full playoff shares without a question. Assistant hitting coach PJ Pilater. Why did David Robertson want to stiff him? I don't know. George King wrote about it in the Post back then. It was weird then. It's weird now. So maybe there's more lingering resentment that we gave credit for. But $6 million plus was the price tag. It was first advertised as a prorated $16 million salary, which I think was just to make his agent happy. But his agent is him. He represents himself. So maybe he negotiated that tweet. But it's prorated $16 million, yeah, but it's not $16 million. It's like 6.22 because that's how much of the season there is. I'll just go ahead and say it. If the Yankees want to spend money, their limited financial resources on bullpen pieces, they're going to target guys whose salaries are between $3 and $6 million for the whole year. They're going to try to pick up $1 million to $3 million at the trade deadline. They are not looking to add $6+ million on David Robertson right now. Robertson's showcase went really well. Great. Then we heard after he was signed that he was throwing 89-91. Not great. And he needs more time to ramp up and will go to AAA Lehigh Valley. It was just announced about an hour ago and start his journey with the Phillies in the minor leagues. The Yankees need sure things. They're going to trade for someone unlockable. I know they are. And we'll get into the Diamondbacks trade package in a little bit. I know they are. I'm pretty annoyed that they're going to use a bullpen trade acquisition on someone who they think they can fix. But what they don't need is David Robertson at a diminished velocity who needs minor league ramp up before he's able to help is that August 10th, 20th? Like, I'm not sure when that is. And it would be great to have a fully engaged David Robertson available for October, but the Yankees can't afford to wait for another 3 weeks to a month. The Yankees have already waited too long.
Yeah.
I was getting into this on Friday, just like how many totally acceptable relievers there are out there right now on bad teams like Oakland and Chicago that you could just give up your 47th best prospect for and have on your roster to soak up innings instead of Rico Garcia, who got DFA'd after one appearance and went back to the Mets today, instead of, a JT Brubaker they believe in, I guess. But Efros looks like just a wasted roster spot. Like everybody who pitched on Friday, the wasted roster spot brigade, you could trade for a fine, not great reliever at no cost. And he could have been here before the All-Star break, and he's not. And it's July 21st, and he needs to get here by July 22nd. So spending that money on David Robertson does not fill that need for you, creates just another hope, another like lingering void where you're like, well, just wait until we get D-Rob back and he builds himself up at AAA. I don't blame the Yankees at all for not making this move and for not spending $6 million on it, even though, yes, I called it the perfect reunion. And then I learned that he's not ready. And I learned his max velocity. And then I was like, all right, well, great. No, I don't want to force that issue.
Yeah, I fully agree here. At first, my reaction was like, why didn't they just do this a month ago? Why didn't they do this, in the offseason when it was clear like you didn't have enough pieces and you were banking on a lot of unknowns? You're still factoring in Scott Efros in some capacity. You think that JT Brubaker is going to make a return. You've dealt with how many injury issues with Ian Hamilton over the last couple of years where it's like, that's hardly a commodity. Don't even get me started on Jonathan Loaisiga. So I understand that they upgraded the back end of the bullpen, but they didn't upgrade the whole. And they have, like we've talked about a lot, a ton of guys who are essentially serving as last dudes in the bullpen who can't deliver. So my whole thing was, if there was a reunion on the table and the price tag was reasonable, why wasn't it done? So A, you would have Robertson for the entire second half, or B, why wasn't it just done in the offseason after he had a career season last year? So that's really where my frustration is. Good for the Phillies. They're on caution to the wind. They're spending the money. They're going for it. I wouldn't have been mad if the Yankees made this move, but it wouldn't have satiated any of the short-term needs for this team. Like we've mentioned a million times, this team has needed bullpen help for over a month now. So factoring in Robertson for 3 weeks to a month down the road does nothing. And again, that actually should make fans more frustrated, because that's a lot of what the Yankees do. They do a lot of projecting. They do a lot of, we'll have this guy back at this date, and then it'll get us set up for the stretch run or for the division race or for the postseason. And it's like, why can't we just have the things now and play better now, so we don't have to worry about making up ground later or worry about being at full strength with the unit fully cohesive when the games start to matter the most? So I'm totally fine with the Yankees passing on here. And yeah, the reality that everybody has to realize, that I think a lot of fans are not going to, because they don't agree with it. And look, I don't agree with it either, but there are financial restraints here. Yeah. There's the double tax, and the Yankees are not going to make an ill-advised move. I actually am weirdly sort of confident that they would do it for the right player. I don't know. We'll talk more trade deadline scenarios. I don't know who's going to pop up that's going to change the entire approach and make the Yankees say, yeah, you know what? We'll pay triple for this guy coming in. Who cares? But there's a reality. The reality is that they're not going to be spending a whole lot of money in inheriting salaries. And if they can dump other salaries or do some sort of matches, that's probably going to be the way that they do business.
Yeah, the financial reality, we don't want to acknowledge it, but hey, if we're going to, look at the trade deadline as an opportunity for them to mix and match money, this is not a great use of that limited funds. Maybe they shouldn't be so limited, but if they are, $6 million for a guy who can't pitch now is a tremendous, just adding another question mark to the mix. And so now let's get into the still available players and the latest buzz. Secondarily, I would say that the Pittsburgh Pirates people seem to think that the Yankees are coming. Noah Hiles of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette just posted a link claiming that the Yankees are gaining steam in their pursuit of Mitch Keller. That is directly antithetical to what ran a couple of hours ago, yesterday, that said the Mets were sort of in the forefront of the Keller talks, and you could even call them a favorite, even though there was no favorite. The Cubs were there at first, and now they seem to have backed off a bit. Maybe he's a plan B, trading in division, not necessarily appealing for them. John Heyman connected the Yankees to every freaking Pirate to ever exist, including IKF, which would feel like a bit of a retread now, especially given the progress the Yankees seemingly made on other fronts. David Bednar, interesting, but going to cost a lot and volatile based on his literal demotion to AAA earlier this year. Dennis Santana, giving up assets for him would be infuriating after the Yankees had him and then cut him because he wasn't good. What you need to do is create Dennis Santanas, not trade for Dennis Santanas after somebody else does the work for you. And the team that did the work was the literal Pittsburgh Pirates, so rolling my eyes there. Brian Hayes, you touched on it earlier. Joel Sherman touched on it. What the Yankees need to do is make Anthony Volpe their 9-hitter or get a type of lineup together where he can comfortably be their 9-hitter. Brian Hayes makes Volpe borderline a cleanup hitter in comparison. No interest. Great defense. The offense subpar is not, and it's subpar because of an injury to the back. Like, oh, if only he could lift the ball. Well, he can't. He has a chronic back issue. So no, thank you. Keller is the only semi-appealing Pirates target. Still, I would only be interested in Mitch Keller, who is a guy who does, it's like a classic Yankees acquisition, like soak up innings. Absolutely. Where's the ceiling? I'm not sure. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher. He started the year off in 2023 incredibly well and made the All-Star team and struck out 210 guys on 194 in the third innings when the dust settled, but ended up with an ERA over 4 at 4.21 because the wheels kind of fell off and he almost allowed a hit per inning. Last year, he allowed more than a hit per inning. This year, he's 119 innings, 109 hits allowed, 3.48 ERA, 20 starts. Has he already done the bulk of that good work? Maybe. Keller is tied to a 5-year, $77 million deal that runs through 2026, 27, and 28. So if you can ensure 3+ more years of Mitch Keller, the Yankees are taking on all of that money. What I need then is for the return to just be the lightest bit of nothing that has ever happened. Like, I need Ben Cherington to be Ben Cherington for me and be like, I'll take the Jameson Tyone package. Like, I'll take your 21st, 28th, 34th, and 47th prospects. Because otherwise, paying a premium for Mitch Keller, no, I'm much more interested in the Diamondbacks package that we're about to talk about.
Problematic, though, because Ben Cherington's in a tough spot with the Pirates, and I think that if he botches this trade deadline in any capacity, he's out. So
the columns are coming today, too. I think it was, why can't I remember that? Jason Mackey of the Post-Gazette put up a column that was like, hey, put up a shut-up time for Cherington. Like, if he got credit for the surge at the end of 2023, why isn't he getting punished for this team going down the garbage disposal in 2025? Our own Emma Lingen wrote about it. I think the MLB Scoops had it first. That's a fake account that lies, but they say Ben Cherington's getting fired. But hey, it's obviously a time where, you know, the heat is on, and you're right about that.
So I mean, like, I am not, everybody's so down on Brian Hayes, which I sort of understand, but at the same time, it's like, if the Yankees can get 3 other pieces out of that, then that's a win. You get David Bednar, you get Mitch Keller, you get another low leverage reliever, whatever. Like, that's a win if you have to absorb that money and you're getting at least elite defense. And I will bet that Brian Hayes, who is like technically one of the focal points that's how bad the Pirates are. Like, Brian Hayes should be one of the focal points in that lineup. And that experiment is failing, whether it's his back issues, whether it's just existing in Pittsburgh. I think everybody existing in Pittsburgh is becoming a product of the environment. It's a toxic place to be. The fans are still yelling, sell the team at all these games. The front office lies. There's turmoil. You know, they had a change in manager in the middle of the season this year. So, like, that's going to affect everybody's play. It's not just limited to Brian Hayes, and it doesn't speak to his offensive capabilities. The chronic back issues, obviously a problem that could be playing into that. And the fact that, you know, he might just be an average-ish player. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, because there aren't many other options for the Yankees out there. So if you at least get elite defense out of it and can improve that area of your game and not have to keep a revolving door of players at the position, and you don't necessarily, you're not even downgrading offensively because Vivas and Peraza are not giving you what you need, and they're not going to because they are not major league players or they're not above average major league players. So I like the idea of acquiring Bednar. I like the idea of acquiring Keller. I don't know what it's going to cost. I think this is one of the weirder trade deadlines. I know we kind of say this every year after the playoff field has been expanded, but it's coming down to like the Pirates and Diamondbacks, and then these other sellers, the White Sox, the Rockies. Who else is bad? The A's. Like there is not really many sellable pieces, and there's nothing that's really attractive. But again, for a team like the A's, like they have a lot of young guys, so if they are selling, you're gonna have to pay up to get anybody who would move the needle for you. I don't know. The Pirates need offense. I think we know that. I don't think they're going to be trading for pitching prospects, and the Yankees don't exactly have the most robust farm system at all. I think if anything, they have more pitching depth. That's where their advantage is. That's what Brian Cashman's done a lot over the years. He trades like the mid-tier pitching depth in bigger packages and then moves on and clears a path for the guys that are either at the top or the guys below who they believe are going to make the next step. I'm not against anything in these scenarios. Actually, I am. I'm against IKF and Dennis Santana. That would be foolish and redundant.
Could you imagine after all this buildup, an IKF Dennis Santana package for Yankees slop is the way the deadline unfolds?
It would just be absolutely crazy. So I guess that's what I'm against. But like in all these other scenarios where we're looking at marginal upgrades or things that like clearly make the team better, but don't throw the Yankees are, here's the bottom line. The Yankees are not in a position to quote, put this roster over the edge. The roster is not good enough. And there's no impact players of that caliber that would be available for the Yankees to say, all right, we're doing Spencer Jones and we're doing George Lombard and we're getting two players that are winning us a World Series. One's a rental, one's controllable through 2026. Like that's not on the table. This is not like, 2021 Dodgers trading for Trey Turner, some shit like that. Like that doesn't exist right now. And even if it did exist, I would bet that Brian Cashman would get outbid or would reach a point in the negotiations where he would be uncomfortable surrendering whatever assets it took. So the reality is that the Yankees need to get better at the margins, and where they need to do that is the lineup needs to be a little bit deeper. The defense needs to be a little bit tighter. And the fundamentals need to improve in some capacity. So that's where you're going to see a difference in improving this Yankees roster. And again, getting rid of the bottom four bullpen guys who are doing absolutely nothing for you. It's a lot. It's a lot to do, and the Yankees have put themselves in this position. But if anybody here is looking for, I don't know. Like the best parallel I could draw is like Dodgers 2021 deadline, getting Scherzer and Trey Turner. Like that doesn't exist. It hasn't existed for years. It's not a possibility. So you're stuck with underwhelming pitching options from the Diamondbacks, which you should probably talk about now, or underwhelming position players from the Pirates if you're going to get the pitching that you need.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks trade package is the dominant one today. And look, also, there's so many caveats here. And the comments, these are all coming off of WFAN's Ricky Ricardo, the Spanish voice of the Yankees, going on a podcast called
Que Pasa MLB.
Baseball. Yeah, Que Pasa MLB, noting that, again, the way that it's quoted is there is a proposal on the table for the Yankees to deal 5 prospects other than Lombard Jr. and Spencer Jones, but including Cam Schlittler as the headliner to the Diamondbacks. As the comments note, is it up to the Yankees or the Diamondbacks? That we don't know. We don't know if that's a Diamondbacks counter. We don't know if that's a Yankees proposal that hasn't been accepted. So we don't know if that's the Diamondbacks saying this is on the table on our end, or if it's an old, outdated proposal the Yankees tried and failed to make. But that's the rumor right now, with Schlittler as the centerpiece, who is reportedly healthy and going to start on Tuesday in Toronto because he came through his bullpen session all right after getting himself jacked up and getting his biceps a little sore. Upper arm, not lower arm, so it is what it is. But apparently he's okay, getting another showcase, we seem to believe, on Tuesday. And this package is for Jalen Beeks, you tack him on, falls right into the Yankees mold of players they acquire. He's on the IL right now for back stiffness. He's supposed to come off it in a couple of days, but he's got a 4.39 ERA this year after a couple of blowups in late June and a career 4.40 ERA. So again, if in 244 games, someone tells you what baseline they usually land on, that is the truth. That his ceiling was matched a couple of years ago when he was a Tampa Bay Ray in 2022 and was very effective. Since then, he has been less effective. He's like a mid-4s ERA guy. Pitched to a 3.92 at the Pirates last year. Another former Pirate. That's who you want. But he is obviously not the centerpiece of this deal. That would be Merrill Kelly, who's been phenomenal at limiting contact this year, a playoff bulldog, the kind of pitcher the Yankees rarely acquire. You describe the Diamondbacks pitching options as underwhelming. I would be pretty happy with Kelly. I would be pretty happy with the Seth Lugo of the Royals if the Yankees went that way, more so than Keller. Those are just two guys who low pitch count. Kelly specifically is playoff tested, helped the Diamondbacks road him to a World Series appearance in 2023. Just gutsy bulldog. The stuff does not wow you, but year in and year out, he's like a mid-3s ERA guy. He's not a co-ace. He's not a number 2. He's a clear number 3. He's got a 1.057 whip this year. He's just someone who I would hand the ball to in a game 3. And I'm not sure the Yankees have that right now with Schlittler and Luis Heel and Marcus Stroman and Will Warren and what they've been left with in the wake of their injuries. Obviously, the centerpieces of Eugenio Suarez, who hit 2 more home runs yesterday, 2 more home runs on Saturday, 35 on the year. Defense is supposedly fine. It's average to slightly above. It's not Drek. It's acceptable. The power bat is at its peak right now. He escaped the All-Star game without a pinky injury, so that's good. He said yesterday, after the game, the Diamondbacks won it, moved to 500, and he wants to make this as difficult as possible on the front office. He wants to put the ball in the Diamondbacks front office's court, say, okay, you want to sell us? I dare you. You better be getting a big return. So they're under pressure because the team is competing and they now have a fan base that is maybe hungry for something they weren't hungry for when the All-Star break happened. So yeah, it'll take 5 Yankees prospects headlined by Cam Schlittler to get something done here. And I don't think if you take Beeks out, I don't think the package gets much smaller because there's going to be a lot of competition for Suarez and Kelly. So this is definitely the closest we've seen to a legitimate rumor so far. And I'm wary about trading for rentals, but if there are any rentals I'd trade for, it's Kelly and Suarez. And if there's anything the Yankees have, it's pitching depth. You don't want to get rid of Schlittler, but I'm of the belief that you can't kick yourself over surrendering pretty much any pitcher at this point.
I agree with that. And what I meant by underwhelming for the Diamondbacks pitchers was that they're both rentals. Gallen's having a really down year. And at that point, you're just paying for name recognition, in my opinion. And Kelly is going to be a high-cost rental with no guarantee you'd be able to sign. I would love that if he became an extension candidate, that'd be great. But part of my hesitance about this deadline is that, yes, the Yankees want to win now. We want to win in 2025, but the reality also is that they have to look ahead to 2026. So you're going to do heavy lifting at this year's trade deadline with, I'm not down on this team, but like the Yankees are a very incomplete roster. So acquiring a bunch of rentals in 2025 and depleting the farm system, if you're going to go for it, like, sure, I'll support that. But at the same time, you're just leaving yourself exposed to do a ton of work in the offseason, which is going to require spending money, making trades, and the Yankees are not the most aggressive at doing either of those things. They've been surpassed by other teams in the spending department. They've been surpassed by other teams who jump the line in trade conversations and are willing to go the extra mile. So, like, I don't want to be looking at, you look at this current roster as constructed for the Yankees, right? How much uncertainty? Trent Grisham, free agent this year. Cody Bellinger, probably a free agent this year. Paul Goldschmidt, probably a free agent this year. Not that like all of these, Devin Williams, free agent after this year. So it's not that those are devastating, but there's a lot of work on the horizon for this team to improve. And the team is, I don't know if this team is World Series bound this year. I know that the lane is there and the window's certainly open, but they're still like, jumping up and down in terms of, oh, are we good? Are we not in the last month and a half, 2 months? And I know a lot of teams are dealing with this. The Mets are 10-20 in their last 30 games. The Dodgers have lost 10 in a row now. 10, I think, right? A ridiculous losing. Yeah, ridiculous losing streak. So I get these teams are going through it, but I am looking at the Yankees through the lens of what the Yankees have done since 2018. And they topped out in 2019 in terms of like regular season success and overall, I think, depth and capability. And it's kind of always been downhill since then. And since 2021, we've seen a pattern of these summer swoons and of guys getting fatigued by, the middle of the second half, and top performers not showing up for the postseason, and runners in scoring position problems existing, and defensive shortcomings remaining consistent as well. So, like, at this point, I don't know why. Again, Brian Cashman's comments about, oh yeah, we're going all out at this year's trade deadline, and I look around and I'm just like, why is this the year? Why wasn't 2022 the year? Why wasn't last year the year when you knew you had one guaranteed year of Juan Soto? So, hell, why wasn't 2019 the year when you had all that depth and there was magic around that roster, right? Like, guys were stepping in to roles to fill in for injured players and hitting 305. And you were like, holy crap, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. So that's where my hesitation lies, because if the Yankees are going to trade someone like Schlittler, who I'm not against trading, I'm just against trading for the wrong thing. So you're going to trade Schlittler for 2 rentals on a team that needs 4 other pieces after you acquire those 2 rentals. It's like, I just don't know, man. And it does sound contradictory, because I'm always saying trade the prospects, get the major league talent. But you're talking to me on July 21st as the Yankees continue to show that they lack the overall necessity to be a World Series contender. Like, the Dodgers have the excuse, at least, that they have a billion pitchers on the IL, and Freddie Freeman has been dealing with injuries on and off, and Max Muncy's on the IL, and they've had a lot of stuff go sideways for them. The Mets, on the other hand, they had no starting rotation for the first half, and in my opinion, they were lucky to be where they're at. Like, the Yankees don't have any of those deficiencies. I get Garrett Cole's out for the year. Giancarlo Stanton was out for the first half. Clark Schmidt's now out, but most of the time, that's a pretty standard injury season. You lose a very important player and then a couple of supporting acting players who are integral to the lineup. Like, no team is a stranger to that. So I understand the Yankees overcame Garrett Cole's injury in the first half, which is great, but now they're seeing other pieces fall and not come back. And now Clark Schmidt's out for 2026. You need a pitcher for next year too. So that's why I think maybe Keller might be the smarter way to lean. Or if you get Kelly, sign him right away. Figure out a way to get it done. But acquiring Kelly as a rental at his peak price just doesn't seem smart to me. And same with Suarez. I think Suarez is really good. I wanted him since the offseason. Said on the preseason podcast, the Diamondbacks are going to fall behind because that division is too stacked. Yankees should be targeting Suarez. I still think that's the case, but is Suarez going to solve other problems? No, he's not. So there needs to be 3 or 4 deals going down at this deadline, and they need to get rid of guys who are literally not contributing at all. And I don't know if I trust them to do that.
And the number one thing holding me back from even declaring that there's a way to salvage this is how much nonsense there currently is in the bullpen. And even if you DFA 3-4 dudes and bring back Gary De Los Santos or call up Brendan Beck, we were talking earlier this morning about hey, which of these dudes would you take off the 40-man roster if you had the chance? And I was like, oh my God, we still have Brent Hedrick at AAA with a 1.5 whip at the lower level. Efros comes in for the least important games. Alan Winans is on the major league. Michael Arias yesterday was buzzing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. I was like, can't try that guy. That guy's just going to hang out in Scranton while we watch these wastes of space occupy the back end of the bullpen. Javian Sandridge, is that a guy that we need to have on the 40-man? I don't know. My humble opinion, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the active roster right now. So you have Brubaker, Efros, Hamilton, Loizaga, Winans, Peraza. As guys who you could get rid of them right now and nothing would change. You can fill their spots with, I think, guys at AAA, and you wouldn't see a whole lot of difference. And that's not an insult to their abilities. It's just like Brubaker and Efros and even Hamilton and Loaizaga have been injured for so long that they just don't have the, like, it's hard. Baseball's hard enough. It's hard when you are unable to take the field. And those guys have been unable to take the field for the past 2 to 3 years on a consistent basis. So you have that. Winans, AAA guy. He's here for roster filler. Peraza, not a major leaguer. We've talked about that. So that's just the active roster. If you expand it to the 40-man, then that's where someone like Mark Leiter Jr. comes in. I understand that he's injured, and parting someone with when they're injured like that is not necessarily nice, but I mean, I don't know how much longer you can keep the guy. Hedrick, like you mentioned. Who else? Ryan Yarbrough is still just injured. We should probably address that at some point.
Yeah. Forgot about him.
Braden
I missed him.
Shoemake, Brian De La Cruz, Everson Pereira. Like, these guys are not being utilized, and they're not going to contribute to a World Series winning team. And I get it. Like, look, I get it. The 40-man roster is not going to be filled with the best prospects you've ever seen, and then like an overflow of major league talent that's like, oh, whoops, we got to stash them at AAA because we're too friggin' good right now. But I just named you 10, 12 people who don't belong here, and that is 25 to 30% of the team's roster. So, like, the changes need to be made, and they need to be made now. But again, I don't know how you replace 10 people at the trade deadline unless you go absolutely nuclear. And again, we've never seen Brian Cashman do that.
Braden Shoemake is hitting 237, and he's on the IL at AAA, FYI. For those wondering, there you go. Look, I'll wrap this up just by saying that luckily, I don't even think we need to argue. This is arguing with a person who doesn't exist, because I don't think we actually have anybody in the opposition to keeping Spencer Jones right now, or at least keeping Spencer Jones. Like, I was prepared to be like, no way am I trading Spencer Jones for a rental. And I think the world has agreed, like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So again, I'm not against trading Spencer Jones at this unbelievable peak value in which he's doing something that I've never seen a minor leaguer do before. Yes, I have seen minor leaguers pop off at AAA. I've seen Dallas McPherson, take a run at the Pacific Coast League batting crown. I'm not sure I've seen anyone who had previously been sort of underwhelming and the game power hadn't shown up as much as it should have based on frame and exit velocity and all that. I've never seen that person turn it on a dime so quickly. Spencer Jones got the time he needed at AA to figure things out. AA pitching is better than AAA pitching. AA pitching includes top prospects. AAA pitching is half viable prospects, half major league retreads, just kind of trying to find their footing. And those people are scared shitless whenever Spencer Jones steps to the plate right now. He has 26 homers and 52 RBI in the year now. He's now hitting 317 with a 415 OBP on the season. He's hitting 400 at AAA. He hit 2 more homers yesterday. He's got 10 in a tiny sample size there. But he's now tied. Yesterday, he was tied for the minor league home run lead. He basically missed a month at AA too. Now I believe he single-handedly holds it. And if you believe that, look, it's like impossible to look at the numbers he's putting up right now, which are video game. People say video game numbers. They throw that around too much these days. These are video game numbers. He's doing absurd things, and he's playing incredible defense, and he's doing the kinds of things that people at his size don't do unless they're Aaron Judge, and he's doing them. So do I think that this is his major league future? It's impossible to say that. This might be the best 20 days he ever has. But now I know it's in there, right? So even if they hold him and it ends up being a mistake, and this is not just as good as it gets, but 60% better than he ever is, like, I can live with making that decision and keeping him off limits based on what I'm seeing right now. I can't live with trading him for someone like Mitch Keller and watching him thrive in Pittsburgh, because there's no, like, yeah, I would trade him for Paul Skeens. I would trade him for a 24-year-old controllable all-star. I understand that's a ridiculous standard to hold him to, but there's no one at this deadline who I'm like, well, Suarez is a rental, but he's a 50-homer bat. Got to give up Spencer Jones for him. Can't do that. And I won't kick myself. I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard that if he does hit a wall or struggle to develop, and he will hit a wall at some point, that I won't be like, I should have traded him for Corbin for that 1 year of Corbin Burns, who then hit free agency and got Tommy John. Like, I've yet to hear a name I would trade Spencer Jones for at this deadline. Not saying I wouldn't do it, but I don't think that person's out there. The comments bringing up Jose Ramirez, like, yeah. I would trade Spencer Jones for Jose Ramirez.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But not available, not waiving that no trade. And I don't think there's a single other player who's been floated yet outside of the upper echelon of Major League Baseball talent that I would consider flipping.
I agree. That's where I'm at. I'm never against trading top prospects, especially the Yankees' top prospects, because we know most of the time they don't pan out. But if the Yankees have to play this game of value with all these other teams, so like 2 off seasons ago, Corbin Burns are like, oh, well, you're getting a Cy Young candidate. And it's like, okay, great. So I'm getting him for a year and then he's a Boris client. So I'm never going to see him again. What's that going to cost? The best guy in your system. Okay. No. So now the Yankees should have the advantage where they're like, okay, yeah, his value's at an all-time high. He just abused AA and now he's ripping through AAA like nobody's ever seen. So I need somebody who is going to be with this team for longer than 2 months. I need someone who is going to be an impact player that's going to help us get in further into the playoff conversation or into the World Series discussion. And I don't think that name is out there. If it is, and it pops up and Jose Ramirez becomes available, then great. Done deal. It happens now. The other argument with keeping Spencer Jones, and I guess partially contradicting myself yet again because it comes down to prospects and looking down the road, but looking at the Yankees' outlook for the next couple of years, Trent Grisham is a free agent after this year. Cody Bellinger is not guaranteed to come back. Jason Dominguez's defense is still, and they're not sold on playing him every day. So at the very least, by next year, let's say the best case scenario happens, right? They re-sign Cody Bellinger. They get him on a 4-year, 5-year extension, whatever you want to call it. Jason Dominguez stays. Aaron Judge is here. Trent Grisham probably leaves. And then you have Spencer Jones come up as your 4th outfielder / platoon guy with Dominguez / whatever they've been doing right now with the bats, switching in bats in the DH. Like Aaron Boone's been doing a solid job of rotating. I know they have a lot of guys that probably deserve more playing time than they're getting. Ben Rice is one, but it is what it is. When you have a spillover of talent like that, you got to work with it. Like, if you want to talk about the Yankees being able to, A, spend a little bit more because they're going to need the financial flexibility, B, have a almost direct 1-for-1 replacement, Trent Grisham, Spencer Jones, with Spencer Jones having a much higher upside. If you want to talk about, how about this, the possibility of getting Jason Dominguez more center field reps where maybe he's more comfortable and playing Cody Bellinger a little bit more in left field when the time comes, then it looks like keeping Spencer Jones could be a really good recipe for the next 5 years. That's all I'm saying. So now that he's coming into his own, everyone's doing the side-by-side. And look, I don't disagree. Like the side-by-side comparisons where Aaron Judge was throughout his minor league career versus where Spencer Jones is now, I'm not taking that as gospel, but I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, could be interesting. Could very well be interesting. You're talking about a lefty bat, another thing that they're going to need. So if there is a way in which him slotting into he could be a September call-up too. And maybe he forces the issue and something else happens. Like, maybe the Yankees are planning to clear a path for him on this roster with whatever they do with the trade deadline. Like, I don't know. But now the Yankees have the what have you done for me lately in their favor, which they never do. And they have a top prospect who is one of the best hitters in the minor leagues right now. And that shouldn't be given up unless the value is exactly. This is where Brian Cashman needs to drive a hard bargain, right? We feel like he does it with all these middling deals where it's like, well, if, the number 19 prospect doesn't exactly match up with whatever major league talent I'm looking for, then I'm not making this deal. And it's like, dude, just make the deal. This prospect doesn't fucking matter. It's, it's somewhere in between 12 and 19. Who cares if the other team is trying to get an edge from it? Just give up the guy. Give up the guy to get better. This is not one of those scenarios. This is now you have a gem that has realized, hopefully, his potential after a year and a half of struggling. And advantages in your court. Make it happen. So this is where they have to be careful, I think. Not going to be opposed to trading him if the right piece is available, but is it there is the question. And we'll be waiting 10 days to find that out.
Yeah, again, you want to play around with the side-by-side comps.
They're funny.
We all do. No one is saying he's going to be Aaron Judge, but I do think he's done enough at this point where the conversation has to be, Oh, shit. So now he's like doing it for real, right? So now that you've seen it, like, do you really want to, put yourself in Brian Cashman's shoes? I know you guys love doing that all the time. Like, do you really want to be the person who traded someone like this for what's currently on the market? If they trade Spencer Jones, and we see that go across the ticker, it better be for a trade candidate like Jose Ramirez, who I have not even seen listed as available and probably never will. I would not do Spencer Jones for Emmanuel Clase.
Absolutely not.
I would not do Spencer Jones for a reliever of any kind.
Starting pitcher controlled beyond 2026 or all-star caliber hitter at a position of need controllable beyond 2026.
Yeah, whose name is not Mitch Keller. Now, Carlos Rodon tonight in Toronto facing Barrios went yesterday. That's a little break for the Yankees. Although I don't even like that I just said that, because last time we were talking about how the Yankees got a couple of pitching breaks in Toronto. Fried and Rodon both went full strength, and they got their ass run over. The Yankees with the worst series loss they have pretty much had in years, 5-6 years. That Toronto series was abominable. And so hopefully this one isn't, because they've got Rodon lined up against Kevin Gausman, old friend, Cam Schlittler healthy and ready for Tuesday against Max Scherzer, who dominated us last time, or at least did enough to win a baseball game. And Chris Bassett, workhorse, the Merrill Kelly of the Toronto Blue Jays, on Wednesday against supposedly Max Fried, but my spidey senses were tingling when we got Hamilton out of the break, and sure enough, Schlittler was hurt. My spidey senses are still tingling on Max Fried. I don't think the blister is a long-term worry, but are we sure we're penciling him into that game? I'm not. We'll see what happens there. But the Yankees apparently have their top three ready for a road series against the Blue Jays. I will not make a declaration. I have nothing to say about their chances. But if they get swept again, they are in bad fucking shape. So that's all I'll say. Try not to do that. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find
At Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account. That is at Yanks Go Yard FS. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Would be greatly appreciated. And when we're going live, it always helps. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all of the content is. Stuff that we're not getting to on the pod. We're in trade deadline season. Transactions are happening all across the roster. Major league, minor league, whatever. It's all there. We're tracking all of it. We're informing you guys, keeping you up to date with everything that's happening with the Yankees. Series against the Blue Jays. Don't know why we're back in Toronto already, but fuck them. I hate Toronto. Not the city, the team, the Blue Jays. And they simply can't have the wheels fall off here. This is where the Yankees need to turn their season around. They need to win this series. I think that they can at least hang their hat on the fact that in the modern era, for the most part, the Blue Jays have rarely come through outside of 2015, 2016, or whatever it was. Blue Jays had the chance over these last few years to take advantage of the Yankees' malfeasance. They didn't. They were even worse. They're tooting their horn this year. They're really not that much better than the Yankees, who have been pretty damn bad over the last 7 weeks. So put up or shut up right now. This is where you turn the season around. This is where you get momentum for the trade deadline. This is where you springboard into August. Put everything else behind you. One time, Yanks. Come on.
The difference between their two seasons is the abominable series they had a couple weeks ago. Toronto will set, if they win tonight, a record for most consecutive wins in home games in franchise history.
Don't let it happen.
10. That'd be 11. The Yankees are a big part of that already. I would implore them to not become a bigger part of it. Toronto drawing a lot for a team in first place in July. It's impressive that they're here. It is incumbent upon the Yankees to hear that shit and then play a little bit better. Not just a little bit better, a lot better. You got run over last time. The Blue Jays
or 10 runs tonight. Do that.
There was no reason for the Blue Jays to have swept the last series, and the Blue Jays swept it emphatically and made the Yankees an afterthought. And the Yankees came all the way back and erased the 7-run deficit and then fell apart and melted. Indignity. So don't do that again if you can avoid it. It'd be great if you could play better baseball. And it'd be great if you could infuse this roster with a little bit of talent midway through the series, perhaps. Get that bullpen guy we mentioned, whoever he is. We'll see you on the other side on Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock Eastern. Join us on the Yanks Go